title of today's lecture is A Totally New Approach to Education. A totally new approach to education. Now certain skills stay with us. I mean, riding a bicycle. If you don't ride a bicycle for 20 years, you get on a bicycle, you can do it. It's a motor skill that stays with you. Muscle is referred to muscle memory. You build up a strong body. You lose that strength, but you can build it up more rapidly than if you never had it. So definitely we're talking about an integration of the educational process as part of the new educational model, a totally new educational model. Now, when we look at education today, most people say, well, you need an education to get a job. But you know, we all know, especially in these times now, we need even more than for people to learn how to get a job through their education. We need people who learn how to create jobs. Isn't that more the need of the times when you look at what we need at these times? Don't we need people who go through an educational process where they can create jobs? Doesn't society need that more right now? We already have, at this particular time in history, in the year 2013, so many people are unemployed. We don't need more people on the job market. We need people out in society who can create jobs. There's much more of a need for that. And certainly the system as it exists is not responding adequately to a crying need of society, whereas in the totally new approach to education, job creation is emphasized. You have comments or questions about that? Mary?
I agree with yes. You know, you hear so many kids going to school, okay, and they graduate with some kind of degree, and then even in nursing, it's tough to find a job right now in some areas. And it's like, if you don't know somebody in the system, then you can forget about finding a job.
Well, there you have it. And the schools continue, without interruption, training people to get a good education, which we understand what a misnomer that is, get a good education as opposed to integrate a really active educational process. So you can get a good job. Now, as opposed to be able to create good jobs that so many people need. We really need a process that emphasizes at least, listen, we can't get away from the idea that we want people to get good jobs. But certainly want to balance it with having people who can create those good jobs. And right now, that emphasis is not there. That balance in the current educational system is totally lacking. And we keep turning out more and more people investing tremendous amounts of time and energy and money, coming out with the idea of a resume looking for a job as opposed to at least thinking about how they can create a job or create many jobs by following their passion in life. So we're seeing that. So in the totally new approach to education, we're not eliminating the idea of creating an educational process so people can get jobs, but we want to balance it. We want to balance it with a process where you have the idea of having your own entrepreneurial spirit, pursuing that and creating jobs, and how important that is for society, how important it is for you and your independence, and how important it is for everyone throughout the world at this time, at all times. Mary, you're going to say something. You want to say something, Mary? Okay. Okay, that's okay. I thought you were saying something. Okay. Yeah. So we'd like to be creative. So that's another aspect of the new educational model. Absolutely indispensable balance. Again, job creation and also getting a good job. Now, the idea of getting a job is also an incorrect concept. You get a job, very few people keep a job for a lifetime. And it used to be, before society was so mobile, you got a job, you were raised in a town, you got a job in that town, and you kept it all your life. Now people could be changing jobs, careers all the time. So the whole idea is get a job, but be open to a whole multitude of jobs and careers. You're not just trained for, most people are not just trained for one particular thing. they should also have understand, you may want to be changing your career. You may want. I've seen so many people, including myself, change careers. I've had 15 businesses. I've been a psychologist, a businessman, an educator. I'm in a transition of going from being a psychologist to an educator at almost 72 years of age. So people are in flux, and the idea of getting a good job as if you're going to stay with that job. So getting a job or getting into your career, the idea of a static concept is wrong. It's an incorrect concept. You don't just get a job. You just don't get a career. You may want to switch because your interests change, or you can make more money doing something else, or you move, or you get a supervisor that's really discriminating against you, and it's very toxic for you to be in that environment. So you move on to something else in a different field or the same field. So the idea even of you don't just get an education, you don't just get a job, because having a job is also a process. You're in it, and then you might do it for 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years, and then you start sending out resumes looking to upgrade yourself. So even the concept of getting a job or getting a career is a static concept, like get an education, have an education. It's not static, it's dynamic, it's alive, it's a breathing, organic process. And so we need to reconceptualize that, and we're doing that in our totally new approach to education. Now, what are your reactions to the idea that you just don't get a job like you did 100 years ago? 100 years ago, you got a job in a company or a store or whatever, and you spent your whole life doing that. And practically nobody does that today. So it's an incorrect concept. What are your thoughts of that, Mary? Does that strike you a court of truth, or you disagree or disagree?
I think that's true because, looking at how back, and I've been a nurse over 30 years, and it's like I know, even if after I left the convent, I had to look for a job, and I mean, it took me a while to find my niche, what I really like.
So you shifted around from one type of nursing to another.
Right. Well, I was stuck in geriatrics, and that was my specialty.
But how long did it take you till you found that you want to be in geriatrics?
My interest laid in psychology too, so that was quite interesting. So, I mean, I did find a new direction, but and also in hospice, I always was interested in hospice, but and again, even now I'm thinking, well, I'm thinking, I have till 67 until I can retire from nursing, but even before that, I'm even thinking of going in a different direction of career. I mean, I think sometimes it's good to get something new.
Something new. Let me ask you this question, because I know that you're an entrepreneur, and if you could make a really substantial amount of money, through, let's say, the Power Sugar, being involved with that, internet marketing and other sales with Power Sugar, and help people with their health and have an enormous income flow, would you remain a nurse, or would you go where the money is?
I would remain a nurse, but I would decrease my hours.
You would decrease your hours and be more involved with your role as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
So you would decrease your hours by what, half?
Well, I would gradually, yeah. I'd say about half. I would like to go part-time. That would be great.
So you would cut it down. So you would expand it to an area that, and in fact, you're not trained for, so to speak. I mean, you didn't get a degree in business administration, yet to be prominent and successful in business, you would do that. You would put a lot of your energy into that as the opportunity presents itself. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Antoinette, what about yourself? The idea of not getting away from a static concept of job or career, as in terms of also being a dynamic process, because we have to be open to the changes of the times and of the circumstance that we're in. What is your reaction to the truth or falsity of that idea?
Well, I think we all have passions as far as what we're best at and which job we would like to have. And so if it's just a job that it's there, it pays your bills, and that's fine if that's what you're at, where you're at. But if you're able to get into a job that really fulfills your destiny and your future, and you're really into it, and that's like your calling. I mean, that's definitely that's a career. It's not really a job, because to me, when you say a job, it's like you're doing something, but you're not really doing it because you love it.
Well, I want to take off right on what you're saying, because that's the next point I was going to come to. So thank you for bringing that point up. You know, in this distinction, you'll never hear it in the universities and colleges or trade schools, but I want to give you a nomenclature that will be very valuable to you. A job is something you typically do from 9 to 5 to pay your bills. A career is a job you deeply enjoy. A calling is a career you would do for free if you could afford to. You would do it with no money if you could afford to do it for no money. And a destiny is a calling you would pay to do. You'd actually pay to do it if you could afford to do that. So really, what I'm doing now is a destiny. Being a psychologist was a calling. I would do it for free. Heck, I have done it for free so often over my lifetime. But now I've gone to a destiny to uplift society for at least 1,000 years, socially, financially, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, medically, in every way. So I've shifted now to a destiny. Now, within the school or the university or college, the distinction should be encouraged to say, you know, we want you to seek your destiny. And I've had several lectures on how to recognize your destiny. And certainly within the curriculum of the Nerenberg Institute and other educational institutions that I'm involved in, people will be encouraged to pursue their destiny and to pursue their callings, and certainly go beyond the job, because you definitely want a job you deeply enjoy, which is a career, but also because at the end of life, you want to say, I went for what mattered most in my life. I went for the dream. And to make a livelihood at it, to be able to pay your bills and live and help other people and support our families. This is the best of it. Actually, when we're serving our destiny, then what we do to earn a livelihood becomes actually an act of worship. When we're serving to uplift the world through what we do, serving our deepest passion, serving our destiny, it elevates work to worship. And that's something that should be emphasized, and it is not. It certainly is in the totally new approach to education, serving our calling and preferably even serving a destiny. Now, I awoke to my destiny at age about 67, understanding what it is to serve my destiny, and I'm trying to help all you younger people awaken you to that urge and to recognizing what that is in yourself, to explore that in yourselves. And certainly it should be a part of a sincere, genuine educational system. And it doesn't exist right now. It does not exist at this time. And that's, again, a flaw in the current educational system. Now, another flaw in the educational system that we have now, you study for a class, you acquire the knowledge mostly through memorization, and then you take an exam, series of exams, and the final exam, and you write basically what the professor, you study what you know, what the professor wants you to learn, and then you essentially give it back to him on the exam or give it back to her during your examinations, during your essays, your exams. You pretty much want, you kind of size up the teacher. You say, well, this is something that he or she emphasizes. I memorize it because I know it's going to be asked of me, and you give it out.